Good evening and welcome to the 382nd meeting of the New York Comics and Picture Stories Symposium. This is a weekly lecture series on comics, animation, illustration, and other text image work. It's funded in part by the Will and Ann Eisner Family Foundation. And our guest tonight is one of my favorite cartoonists, Mohammad Nor Khalid, also known as Lot. Uh, and our moderator, who will introduce him, is calling in from Singapore, and that's Lim Cheng Tju, and he writes about history and popular culture. He's the Singapore country editor of the International Journal of Comic Art, and his latest book is Drawn to Satire, Sketches of Cartoonists in Singapore, a comic book about comic artists. And he's long been uh, following comics all over the world. He's sort of the person in Singapore to go to when you want to know about the international comic scene. That's how I know him.
Mhm.
So take it away.
All right. Thanks, Ben. Thanks. Yeah, I think this is my third time doing this live through Zoom. So nice to meet all of you. Though most of you have your cameras off. I see some familiar names. Maria, yeah, hello. So I think it's evening time now for you. I think it's the 13th of February. All right. For us, it's really Valentine's Day in Singapore, Malaysia. We are about 13 hours ahead, so it's about 8 a.m. In Singapore, Malaysia. I think it's over your side. It's only 7 p.m. On a Tuesday night. Yeah, so nice to see everyone. Okay, I think you are here to listen to Lat. I hope he's not unfamiliar to you. He's not a stranger to you. His books, Kampung Boy, Town Boy, has been published by First Second about 20 years ago. I think they are still in print. They are still in print. So look out for them in all good comic shops. Okay, just a brief run through before I hand over to Lat. Okay, just a sort of a forward to this. We have some Zoom issues, so if the sound quality is not great, just try to let us know. We'll try to speak louder. All right. There's some technical issues. Okay, Lat was born in 1951. All right, in Malaysia, Kota Baru, Gopeng, where in fact I think he's based there now. He moved as a young man to Kuala Lumpur, the capital of Malaysia. And in recent years, about 10, 20, 30 years ago, he moved back to Ipoh, Gopeng, where he is now. So, of course, he's been drawing cartoons, comics for the last 60 years. He started really young, as a young boy, as a teenager, contributing cartoons to newspapers, to the New Straits Times. After his high school studies, he went to the capital. He became a reporter for the New Straits Times, but he's also drawing cartoons then. And he did a lot of editorial cartoons where, he gained his fame. And he did his books, Kampung Boy, Town Boy. And later on, he went freelance. All right. I think that's where many of you, or some of you might know him for his two books, Kampung Boy and Town Boy, which I'll talk more about later. But I will make the claim that it is the first graphic novel in English in Malaysia, although, of course, that term doesn't quite exist in 1979. And what's interesting to me is that the book Kampong Boy came out, all right, just 1 year after a contract we've got, right? I mean, of course, we can all tangle up in the history of graphic novels, which is the first graphic novel. But I'm not too concerned about that because to me, they are comic books, right? And we should just enjoy and be entertained by comic books. They make us think. And in some ways, graphic novels, well, it's a marketing term, all right, for booksellers to package books, which is great. We do want more people to read comics. But, later I'll ask Lat about that. How does he feel in creating the first graphic novel in English in Malaysia? And again, it's very close to just a year after a contract we've got, which many people have said is the first graphic novel in America. Okay, so I think these are his two most famous books, Kampong Boy and Town Boy. He also has done Mat Som, which unfortunately, although it's in English and you can still buy copies of it in Malaysia, but it is not easily available in North America. Lat continues to draw. He has a gallery open in Ipoh. All right. And he's still very active. All right. So I don't think I want to belabor the point or to take up too much airtime. All right. But I hope this short introduction will suffice. And I'll just let Lat introduce himself. Yeah, Lat, you want to say hello to your fans and friends in America?
Yeah, thank you very much, Cheng Ben, and thank you for inviting me. And it is I'm feeling very good to be getting in touch with you all. And I've been drawing cartoons and comics for so long, since the 1960s school days, and started drawing for magazines and newspapers series even in the school days. And I eventually came to Kuala Lumpur and started drawing editorial cartoons for the New Straits Times in Kuala Lumpur. The drawings appear on the editorial page of the newspaper, which we consider as the most important page. I drew for that page for 40 odd years, and many people in Malaysia, consider me to be someone who draws about people in the street and current events, but not political, because politics to me doesn't really last. Whatever this week will turn out to be just the opposite the following week. So I drew about people, and I became quite well known. I got invitations to go abroad in the mid 70s. I got invitations by the embassies in Kuala Lumpur, the foreign embassies, to visit their country, because they wanted me to draw what I saw in their countries. And the first country to invite me in 1977 was United States. They had this program called International Visitor Program. It's the State Department thing. And I ended up 2 months traveling, zigzagging across America at the age of 26. And, I really enjoyed the trip because, I was a young bachelor and I love music. And wherever I went, I tried to look at people, and draw and attend concerts. It was really smashing. I think I enjoyed very much the big cities. I enjoyed the tourist attractions, and I enjoyed talking to people. It was 1977. Pink Floyd, they were promoting the album Animals, and I saw the concert at the Anaheim Stadium, Los Angeles. It was really fun. I think one thing I discovered was when I talked to people, any of them didn't know Malaysia. I tried to explain to them. They thought Malaysia was in the southern tip of China, and there's one guy who said Malaysia, that's in Alaska, right? I said, no, it's in Southeast Asia. And so I told myself, when I got back home, I want to do a book about something about us. I ended up drawing a book about myself as a boy, because I wanted to tell actually people who come to Malaysia. I wanted to tell them about what the origin of, let's say, someone like me is about. And I did a book called Kampung Boy, And this town boy, is I call it Kampung Boy. Kampung Boy means Kampung means a village, because I was born in a village, and I did that book in 1977, 78, the moment I came back from America, and I remember when I was in America visiting the big cities and other attractive places. I remember my kampung folk, my village folk, because I said, what if they were with me? Because you always remember friends and family, of course, but you are alone traveling and enjoying, what you saw, and the only way we could share it is in my case, by drawing about it. But can you show enough? Well, you can show it with feelings, the drawings. Even a simple cap, rhyme can be, can be amusing. Talking to people. So that's what happened. The book was released in 1979, and it became a hit. And as usual, I received more invitations to travel around the world. The second country that invited me was Japan. And as you know, you go to Japan, you first thing that strike you is that you realize it's very different from your country, and the people are very different. Some people say they are very polite and they respect each other much more than we do in our place. But you find out, that it is very interesting, very clean, and I drew about, and when I was in Japan, I realized, I was reading the early manga and comic books, and as usual, I got influenced I was influenced by America. I was influenced by Japan. All those comic books with the little panels, very little tiny panels and continuing stories. Even a drop of water that's about to fall from the roof would take one whole page of panels. And I say, wow, this is interesting. Apparently, they do that. They wanted more pages because they are paid by a number of pages. I like people like Takita Yu, and of course Noboru Baba, the late Noboru Baba. And I had the chance to meet Sato Sampe, of course, a very famous. Of course, I also met the very famous father of the Japanese animation. Osamu Tezuka, very nice man. Yeah, I met him in 1984. So whatever I did, whatever I saw, I drew for in the newspapers, and that continued for many, many years. It became my job, and I look back, I realized that I'm quite happy. I never did get involved to any trouble in drawing, because it was on the editorial page. Of course, I had a tendency to draw prominent people, to draw political figures, famous people. I did caricatures of them because people like to look at them. And in the beginning, it was difficult because my editor, Mr. Lee Siu Yi, and my other, the Malay editor for Malay newspaper, Samad Ismail, were reluctant to allow me to draw all those political figures and prominent people. But I managed to draw the Prime Minister, in 1974, 75. It was still taboo. the newspaper was, the New Straits Times was very conservative, and I managed to sneak in some pictures of some drawings of Prime Minister then among the crowd, and people like it, of course, and they call the newspapers to please let's have more of that sort of thing, add spice to Lark's work by allowing him to draw, political or social commentary featuring prominent people that we know, Malaysians that we know. So that's how it started, and today you can draw anything in Malaysia. You can even draw the king. Looking back, I think it was exactly 40 years that I drew for the newspapers. And the support given by the public was tremendous, and my books did very well, and I'm glad when I look back, I think I feel quite good about, I don't feel sorry about drawing something. I don't want to. When I draw pictures, I want people to like it. I want people to smile. I want people to consider it as the work of a friend. Someone who you'd like to be a friend of. When we go abroad, we meet Indonesian comic illustrators, Indonesian cartoonists. We meet Japanese. We meet Chinese. They are all. We feel that we are all friends. When we draw about each other, it's like letting your hand out to shake your hand. It's that gesture. So we wanted to be happy, but of course there are many other types of comics, and of course editorial cartoons, political cartoons are different. And I found that people remember the ones I did for the editorial page more on when I try to understand or picture their culture. Malaysia, just like many places here, like the US and UK, multi-racial. There's so many races, and for young. If I can remember my childhood, the fun is mixing around with the other races. Teenagers are very fond of trying to understand each other. You meet Chinese kids in Malaysia, in your hometown. You go to their house, you got invited to their shop house. You go meet their families. And they meet your family. It was a beginning of really good friendship. It should be encouraged. And during my time, it was music. Music gathered people. Music, and I always picture this in my drawings because I'm rather musical. And you also became friends because of interest in reading books, story books, novels, and of course you became interested in each other when you get involved in sports. But in my case, it was more music and literature, and I used that as the subject of my books, like the Town Boy. Town Boy is a story about a Malay boy who goes to a Chinese house to listen to records, listen to a record player in the 60s. So music united us. We got together because of Beatles and Elvis, and we discussed lyrics, with school friends, and that can always be fun, funny too, and subject for our drawings. At the moment, I'm living in Ipoh. My gallery is in my cartoon gallery is in Batu Gajah, which is about 30 minutes away. Ipoh is my hometown, and this is where I grew up. And then until the age of 20, I went to Kuala Lumpur to become newspaper man. And I stayed there for almost 30 years. And now I'm retired. I no longer draw for the newspapers, but I've come back to Ipoh for the last 30 odd years and still draw because people still keep in touch with me and wanting me to do illustrations for them. You know, this is what happened. You know, no matter how far you have gone, how long you have done. Because I met Sergio Aragones in his place in Ojai, in California, many years ago. I went to his studio, and when I saw him, he was drawing. He's a very friendly fellow, and I've known his work in Mad Magazine since way back when. Everybody loved his borderline tattoo. And when I met him, he was drawing some sort of a manual illustration for a little restaurant. And he said, you know, I got to draw this for my friend's restaurant. Don't you get this sort of request from people? I said, yeah, you're right. Yeah, I always get them, usually from teachers or from kids, school kids. But, you know, they read your work, so you got to, you know, reciprocate. You know, I think cartoonists, comic illustrators, everywhere they do that sort of thing. And speaking of Sergio, maybe I'll get in touch with him soon. That reminds me. So that's what's going on now, and I have another comic book to finish. Let's see whether I can finish it soon.
Okay, thanks, Lat. So I think we'll take this opportunity to show a short video you make of your gallery. All right, because I think not many. I mean, I visited. You invited me for the opening, so thanks for that. But I think not many have visited. I think it's also an extension of what you said just now, right? When in the late 70s, you visited America, and people do not really know what is Malaysia, where is Malaysia, what is Kampong life. So you did a book, Kampong Boy. But to me, when I saw the gallery is an extension of that. All right, it's to bring the Kampong alive again. All right, so I'm glad that that you know some of the comics people have visited, like Kosei Ono from Japan, another friend of mine, Ron Stewart, another manga studies scholar have visited. So I think I'll encourage, you know, if any of you in America or Europe happen to be in Southeast Asia, in Singapore, Malaysia, do visit Lat's gallery. Yeah. So okay, I will share my screen now, and I will play the video. Okay, just hang on. Okay, here we go.
Welcome to Rumah Lat Gallery, Rumah Lat in Batu Gajah, Perak. Please come in. We are in the main part of the building. We see the Lat story. So I'm from Kampung Lalang, Kota Baru, near Gopeng, which is just 30 minutes away from this gallery. I did live in Batu Gajah for a while when I was a boy, in Kampung Dobi. Very nice area. Platform number 1, Ipoh railway station. My kind of place. This was the Asia magazine, my favorite magazine. I like it very much. It's colorful and it's all on Asian culture. I did some drawings for them. We can consider it my first cartoon series in English. It was funny, I made it such. This cartoon made me what I am today because the Straits Times saw it and say, why don't you draw for us? So that happened in 1974. I used this table for many years. This is the way I draw, exactly the way I drew in the beginning and what I do today. I am primitive. I start off with pencil line first, and it's what I enjoy the most actually. The scene of a kampung life, children running to the river for a dip in the afternoon. It's something we really love doing way back then. It's a Lat world. Title, I got the idea from a movie, a comedy that I like very much. It's a mad world when I was a kid. More sentimental drawings. There's so much you can share it with a drawing. But with the real building, the real home, is there for people to come and see. Sit down here. Just like the way we did, just like the way I did when I was a kid. And you can feel what it's like to live in a wooden house high up above the ground. The traditional house is very cooling and very pleasant. Anjung is a must for Rumah Limas with the original furniture from my house. This is the Tiang Sri, the main pillar. This is where the children were sleeping at night. When we came to the grounds here, it was still empty, and I said it would be nice if we make it on a higher ground, not on the same level as the gallery. I wanted people from the gate to see the house, as an attraction, I look at my drawings and I remember the stories behind it. And I can tell the year, over a span of 50 or 60 years actually, if we go back to Tiga Sekawan, it's about 60 years. When we are involved in this kind of work, we should have our own style, our own identity, which can be developed over time. No need to be in a hurry. You've got plenty of time. And good luck to everyone. Please come to Batu Gajah and visit Gallery Rumah Lat.
Okay, I'll stop share now. And I think the Malaysian Tourism Board will be very happy with this video. All right, it's asking people to visit Malaysia. Yeah. So thanks for that. And really, I hope if you have a chance to, the rest of you, visit Malaysia, visit Ipoh, visit Lat Gallery. There are a lot of originals. There is a replica of his work desk, and of course, both of us are huge music fans. So I went up, and there was a turntable there. I want to see what record was there, and of course, it's a Bob Dylan record that's on display there. Yeah. Okay, maybe I'll just circle back to a few things. I mean, I'll just ask a few short questions, and then we'll open it up. Maybe Ben will ask some questions. Any of you can ask questions if you would like to keep this free flowing and interactive. I mean, this is your 61 years drawing cartoons. I think not many people have have that long a career. I mean, I suppose Stanley had a very long career in comics. In Asia, Tony Wong from Hong Kong also has a very long career. So how do you feel about that? I mean, any reflections or any factors that for your longevity? Yeah, why you lasted so long, or drawing comics for so long?
Yeah, I think that's the only thing I can do, And when I get, let's say, now I'm doing some work for let's say the Kuala Lumpur Tower. Kuala Lumpur Tower, is a place for it's a telecom place, but it's also a tourist attraction, and I couldn't say no because they wanted me to draw old drawings of olden day houses, And when I received that sort of request, which was made more than 30, and I'm still working on it. They are very patient with me. It's just like receiving instruction for your teacher. Most of the things that I deal with, I always think about going back to my school days. I don't know. The primary school days hold much more memories than the secondary school. So in my primary school days, I passed a certain exam. From the village school, I got transferred to English school in the big town, and that was a chance given by the education ministry at that time. The education system was such, you had a chance. If you pass this exam, the village kids would go to better schools, English schools in the towns, in the big town, to be somebody. That's what they say. And the switch from Malay to English and made all these kampung kids, the village kids, into something else. And suddenly, in the 6th year of school, we got chance to meet other races. We were all mixed. It's a melting pot for Malaysia. And we ended up in secondary school, and we were ready. I could write Arabic, Malay. I could write English, and we were taught English within 2 years. We could read, write, and speak. And I was very lucky to that. So, receiving assignments from your teacher was a job. I was told to draw posters for the classroom. In the primary school, poetry would look attractive with accompanied by illustration. And in this case, Mrs. Moira Hugh, my teacher, who was a very fierce teacher, but she was the one who encouraged me to draw by allowing me to draw for the classroom posters. The first one was a poetry. 20 little froggies went to school. That was the title of this poetry, and what I drew frogs walking to school by a river and carrying school bags and so on. That was some kind of encouragement, really. And I was given other assignments. And fellow artists in the classroom were also given assignments. I got a friend called Sainal, another what we call artist. Also would do illustrations for the class, and eventually for the school. We did for the school magazine, and that was it. That was the beginning of it. So I got stuck. You enjoy the work so much. In my case, when I see cartoons and comics, I find that people smile, people giggle. you know. And my father, my late father, was the kind that made me embarrassed at times because you know, we have relatives coming to our house, and before they left, before they got into their car, he would say, my father would say, oh, hold it, Lat wants to draw something, you know, he wants to draw something. Oh yeah, what is it? Well, they all looked at me, and I was baffled because because my dad wanted to show off, you know, my ability in drawing. He was also an artist. He drew, he drew, you know, a lot of characters on pieces of paper for me. After we saw a movie, he would ask me to draw what did you see in the movie. And I said, cowboy. And I had to draw cowboy. That sort of thing happened. And, you know, this thing went on. And of course, I developed this interest in making comics, short comics and cartoons. And I find satisfaction in, you know, seeing people smile or laugh at them. And it went on my teenage years until I started drawing officially for the media. So, you know, it went on. And today, right at this very moment, if I have a piece of paper and I want to finish off a drawing, it is about a comic about me thinking about my young days. I want to tell the young people that it is when you are in your young days that you have the energy and the courage to work and to do. And I drew about you know, what I experienced when I was 19, 20, 21, which I can't do anymore today. You know, today I'm weak. I'm weaker because I've grown older. And I want to tell the young ones, you know, to do it when they can. When they are young, to help people, to help yourself, you know, be someone useful. It is in your youth, you know, it's the best time.
Yeah, I think what you say at the beginning of that, you know, I mean, it's simple, but it makes sense, and maybe, you know, we should keep to that, that, you know, maybe this is the only thing that I like to do, I know how to do, and I enjoy doing, and we should keep on doing that, right? I mean, often the case I find, you know, we say, oh, we must cover up our weakness, we must do a lot of things to compensate for weakness, but maybe we should just acknowledge that, yeah, you know, there are some things that I don't really like doing. But if I really like doing something, we should just continue doing that. Just keep it simple. Yeah. And maybe yeah.
You know, with my fellow friends, you know, we go where we are old, and they all look at me and probably say, "My God, that guy is still drawing pictures." You know?
Actually, you know, me and Lat, we will call each other, we'll talk, but actually we don't talk much about comics or cartoons. We'll talk about music. We talk about our favorite subject, which is Bob Dylan. So right now I'm recording this Bob Dylan song, right? I'm so much older than I'm younger than that now. So I think we are still young. We can still do the things we like to write, you know, and for you to draw. I think that's fine. That's great. Yeah. Yeah.
You only think about it when people mention it. You know, it's just like illness. You have illness, you are treated for something. You only remember it when people are asking you about your health and age. You know, I only remember it when people ask me about how old I am. You know, then, oh yeah, now I remember I'm in my 70s. So, you know, there are things that you don't really think about because you're too busy working. Yes.
Yeah. Okay, maybe this is where I like to, you know, draw others in and maybe even Ben, because okay, my next question is, of course, you know, you are famous in Malaysia, you are famous in Singapore. I mean, I grew up reading your cartoons in the Straits Times, all right? So not the new Straits Times in Malaysia, but the Straits Times in Singapore in the 80s, scenes of Malaysia life and all that. So you're also well known in Southeast Asia. But I mean, how do you account for your almost cult popularity in the United States, all right? I mean, I remember, like you say, Sergio, when he was doing Gru in the 80s, he did a special issue where it's all Lat characters, right? The Lat nose. And in the 90s, I almost have a good gig going where I will send your books, to Jim Woodring, to Larry Gornick, David Collier, and then they would send something back, right? So that was before the internet, where it's very hard to get their books, and then they will send me their books, and I'll buy your books and I'll send to them. So it's almost like you have a cult following in the United States. But maybe this is where I'll just draw Ben in. All right, Ben, when do
Right.
you hear about Lat? And
Oh, I don't know. I found a book of yours, and I can't remember where I found it. I don't think you sent it to me. No, I think I got it. I found it in a bookstore, a paperback, and I was just fascinated by the specificity of the details of life in Malaysia. That you could carry, those could be conveyed through this inventive style. Yeah, I thought it was. I just love to look at them. So, when you were growing up, or even as an adult, did you have much contact with folk arts like shadow puppets, all of these Southeast Asian forms? Did you see much of that? Or you more or less interested in Bob Dylan? I'm just curious about folk art and folk culture.
yeah, Ben, Ben is asking, when you're growing up, were you exposed a lot to, I don't know, traditional folk
Like,
culture,
like
maybe
shadow
wayang kulit,
puppets. Yeah,
yeah,
why?
shadow puppet, or really was it a lot of American pop culture like the Beatles and Bob Dylan? Or
The shadow puppet, wayang kulit, is from a certain part of Malaysia. It's, the peninsula is in the northeast part, northern east part, Kelantan, and I didn't understand the language, but I got attracted to, of course, the music and the narration, and you could tell the stories. The first one I saw was Ramayana, I think, the Hindu epic, done in Malay in the olden days. In the 1950s, I got attracted to it very much. I even did my own shadow play in the house. I would create the characters and cut them out and make them, into action. I like the music. It's haunting. Everybody loves shadow play, but they have difficulty in understanding it unless they are used to the folklore of certain cult. And growing up in the 1950s and 60s, I couldn't ignore the radio. I was always by the radio. And I had full control of my radio, which was a small radio, the family radio. And I listened to the request program. I love music. I love pop music. Because when I mentioned to you about going to the English school, within 2 years, we had already learned English, and we could speak it and write. And the fun was we listened to the English songs on the radio. You begin to smile because you understood the words. That was the thing, Can you imagine somebody in the room smiling to himself? But it's actually listening to the radio and understanding the words. And that's how I got attracted to, much attracted to music. I love from 1962 onwards, if you, I don't mind telling you, 1963 was a momentous year for music. A lot of a lot of, it was a big explosion with the pop groups and the pop singers from the West. But you're so used to it. You got your own songbook. Everybody in the classroom had his own songbook which he wrote, in which he would write the lyrics, and most of the lyrics you listen on the radio, and you write yourself, and they turn out wrong, of course. But they were love songs, all love songs from a group called Fabulous Echoes from Hong Kong, groups from Singapore, the Crescendos, they sang Besame Mucho kind of stuff, and then they sang love songs, the boy next door, and that sort of thing, and groups from Britain, the Beatles love song, Love Me Do, this. But in the mid-60s, suddenly the lyrics went another way, and we started listening to people, some people call it the protest songs. They were protesting about things like the Vietnam War and like that. And we started listening to lyrics that tells you something else. In 1965, 65 was another momentous year. You got, if you like Sonny and Cher, it's I Got You Babe. You like the Temptations, My Girl, come on. That song you can play anytime. Play to a girl. Of course, she would really like it. But that year also came, Bob Dylan with Subterranean Homesick Blues, Like a Rolling Stone. It was not love song at all. They were telling you about your unhappiness or feeling unsatisfied, satisfied with things. You're getting all things from your chest. Even the Rolling Stones did something called "I Can't Get No Satisfaction," and it's different from what we used to. So we started paying attention to lyrics, and that's when studying lyrics became important. And at the same time, you sort of improve your English, and 65, 66, 67, you see a revolution in music. All sorts of things from America, from Britain, from Indonesia, from Singapore, from Malaysia. The young people wanted electric instruments, and that's how I got to this. And I think the lyrics will remain in you, and you feel much braver, in dealing with yourself, in facing life. As a young man, you hold on to some of the things we believe we have the freedom to do, through this music. That's why people like to go to concerts, because they are paying homage to the performers, the songwriters, and I don't know about today, but that's what happened then.
So maybe I'll just there are a few points that I picked up from what Ben shared and what Lat just shared. One, of course, is that I suppose what attracted maybe for Ben and for others in North America when they saw Lat books is a world, it's a window to another world, right? A window to Malaysia, a window to Southeast Asia, which I think like all good films, music, books, comics, do that, right? A different world from what you experience and what we experience. But I thought there's a second point to be made. I think it's quite important is this idea that the context of why certain things are important in Lat's works and Lat's books, which you need to understand the history of of Malaysia or even Singapore for that matter, right? That I think this idea of multiculturalism, this idea of social harmony, is not to be taken for granted in some ways, right? I mean, for example, in the 60s, Singapore, well, yeah, we had riots, Malaysia in 69, there was a racial riot. I mean, I won't go into details of it because there'll be history lessons in itself. But I think this is where last cartoons, where it shows, where, different races getting along. It seems quite natural, all right? It's just part of a story, but actually it's quite important. I think that's something to be kept in mind, all right, when you read the works against what happened, the history of it. And then I think the third point I picked up just now, actually this idea of post-war, meaning post-World War II progression, development, education, and even studying English, which again it seems given, right? But actually it's not quite true. All right. In Malaysia, you know, for you to study in English school, all right, some get to do that, not all get to do that. So I think in Lart's case, all right, he studied in English school, and I think this is where his love for American rock music, same as me. All right, we end up maybe knowing more about Bob Dylan than some of our own singers. All right, and then it's a window again to the world. All right, you writing in English, speaking English, understanding that is that some form of cultural imperialism? All right, maybe not. I'm not sure, but I think it's something that we enjoy, and it maybe it make us connect with, and we make friends with different people from all over the world. Okay,
Yeah.
so I think that's just what's running through my head when I was listening to the both of you. But maybe at this point, since it's more an hour into this session, are there any questions from the audience? I see that CJ just joined, so any of you just turn on your video or just your unmute yourself and just ask questions. Yeah.
Yeah, when you were talking about protest songs, which I guess some of early Bob Dylan was thought to be, you were sort of not very far away from this the resistance war against America that was happening in Vietnam. And so how did you see those songs, protest songs against American militarism, as something pretty close to home? Or was that a big part of the attraction, or was it just the music and the exotic nature of it?
Yeah, I found out later that when the performers didn't like the term protest songs because it was made by somebody else. Somebody said it's protest song, but when they did the songs, they were just telling stories of their feelings, and we were so near Vietnam, but we were kids, and we didn't know, we didn't understand it, and we saw pictures, we saw in the newspapers, and we saw in Loud magazine pictures, kind of reality, and that's all but we were quite young, and we didn't really care that much, I guess. What was important was trying to understand, what communication was, I guess, at that time, and how you can take part yourself. In my case, it's in drawing. So how to improve my drawing? What do people look for in drawings? I was quite young at that time, and didn't pay much attention to the political side of it. Of course, years later, you start paying attention to the headlines in the newspapers, and you could feel what other people are feeling.
Right.
Yeah, because actually the Vietnam War was in a way just right next door to us in Southeast Asia. And I suppose whether we are aware of it or not, we are all tied up in this Cold War politics and Cold War cultural politics as well. Yeah.
So that was you were, yeah. I mean, all this music, at least some of it. I don't know, if, not all of it, but some of it was part of a counterculture in America. You know, so to say it was American music, it was music that was kind of trying to, rethink America, what America would be. And the whole impulse, even behind Robert Crumb, trying to reinvent American comics, So we call it American, I mean, because it's and if it's in English, it's from the UK. But some of it, I think, was maybe defying its own culture, trying to
Yeah.
do something that was a correction to American culture, maybe. So it's funny in retrospect to think of it as American culture. There was also, Perry Como and Pat Boone. Maybe I don't think you were. I doubt that you were listening. I mean, you couldn't avoid them, but I don't think. But there was that American culture too. So all kinds of music.
Want Perry Como anytime.
What is that?
Perry Como.
Oh, yeah.
Como, I don't mind listening to him anytime. But we talk about feelings, when we're into music. So let's say I want to talk about an old Dylan, a very old Dylan, something like the ballad of Hollis Brown. It's a story, and you could feel it. So it's a universal thing, but it so happens that it's an American songwriter, and you could feel it, and you could feel it also when you are reading Robert Crumb, because you know very well you are now into humor. This is humor. This is not really about sadness or anything. It's humor, and you try to put yourself in there, and you laugh, but you wouldn't do it yourself. You listen to Frank Zappa and his musicians. You laugh and you get attracted, to it, but you can't do it yourself. You don't have the ability to present something like that. So these are all the things that we went through.
Right.
Yeah.
There's a lot of extra musical angles to music too. I mean, I went through a period where I mainly listened to music from anywhere else in the world but America. Old Eastern European music and French music, and I just wanted to. You want to, on some level, escape your own culture. So I can understand listening to Bob Dylan in Malaysia. But anyway, any other questions from?
Yeah, any questions for the audience? Because I always find that the Q&A session of any session is interesting, right? Some things I've not thought of. Okay, all right. I just saw a comment from okay, Julia. Okay, if not, I'll ask another question. But if any of you want to ask a question, just type in the comments or just unmute yourself. Any questions from the rest? Just to check. No. Okay. Just now I mentioned about this idea of graphic novel, right? And the graphic novel, of course, in a way, is a Western term, right? It's bande dessinée, and there's a tradition in Europe, in France, in Belgium, and of course, it has taken root in America for a few decades. But of course, I think in the case of Lat, we don't really set out to do great things, right? You just do them, right? I mean, in this case, you just want to tell your stories, Kampung Boy, Town Boy, and like I said just now, all right, in a way, you created the first Malaysian graphic novel, all right, in English. back in the late 70s. And you actually wrote it in English because I remember you writing your memoir, all right, and I have a copy of it here. So if you get your hands on this, is memoir by Lat, where he said that he wasn't confident in his Malay language, so he decided to write and draw Kampung Boy in English. So yeah. And anything to add to that? You creating the first Malaysian graphic novel in English.
Yeah. Well, I hadn't heard of the graphic in those days. But I came back from America. The first trip that I made on invitation from the government, and decided to draw something about Malaysia, and I ended up drawing the Kampung Boy, and it was done in English because there's nothing sensational, in it. It's a story about being born in a village in Malaysia and partly grew up there. Nothing sensational, but it's filled with tradition. Adat traditions, and I had to go through all that. That's what it's all about. And if I did it in Malay, nobody would want to read. The Malays won't read it because, so what? Why are you telling us this? We know about all this. So it's all meant for other people. The houses on stilts in Malaysia, sounds sort of simple. It's actually a difficult task, to build rumah limas, like the one I was born in. They are very good wood, strong wood, and they are beautiful. And if you took the train, in Peninsular Malaysia from the north side all the way down to Singapore, those days, you will see all these houses, along the way. You'll be passing by and when you see little kids running around, you'll be wondering, who are these people? And that's what I wanted to do. I wanted to tell, visitors in Malaysia, people who didn't know about much about the Malay culture, wanted to tell them about what being a kid in a kampung was about. The life was simple, yet very close to nature, the river, orchards, and the friends, the school. It was fun, and that's what I wanted to tell. And as it turned out, people like stories, and visitors to Malaysia from abroad, they understood a little bit, about those people who live in those houses that they saw. Nowadays it's quite difficult to see because most villages throughout the world is going off. So that book survived so long, more than 40 years actually.
Okay, there is a question or comment which I'll get round to it, but just to add on to what Lat just said, I think that's a very interesting point where you say that, even when you first conceptualize the book and to be written in English, it's actually meant for other people, right? It's not really meant for Malay readers because, like you say, they already know all these things about, circumcision and the kampong life and all that. So actually, that makes sense, right? It is meant for other races in Malaysia, in Singapore, for the Chinese or the Indians. And maybe that also explains its appeal overseas as well. I mean, it's been translated to French, to Japan. In fact, it won an award in Japan in 2014, to Portuguese, and even the first, second editions, all right, I think where most of you have read it in America. In fact, I just met Laura Fountain in Ongalam, all right, the wife of Gilbert Sheldon, and she's a literary agent, and she says she's the one who sort of helped to secure that deal with First Second, and then I think Eddie Campbell interviewed you about 20 years ago for that project. So it's interesting that it's even right at the beginning in the late 70s, it's meant for others, all right, to understand kampong life, Malaysian life, and all that. Yeah.
So what were your models? Were they newspaper comics, Western newspaper comics, or something else? The tradition you thought you would be working in. Were you looking at American newspaper comics?
my best to stick to my own style. In the 1960s, I was influenced by British comics, Dino and Dandy, and then later I saw cartoonists, the work of cartoonists from UK, like Gerald Scarf,
Okay.
and also by others, and I realized that I was sent by the newspaper to be in London for 4 months to get me exposed to the newspaper life in the UK in those days, in the 1970s, in the mid-70s. And I realized that there are so many ways you could there's so many ways you could present your cartoons, editorial cartoons, So I guess I really liked a rough statement at that time. Rough statement was also drawing for the Rolling Stone magazine, and he murdered the faces of those personalities. All this gave me this encouragement, to try and do something, that could attract people, but at the same time, let's say, in a nice way, because I work for Malaysia.
Yeah. Well, so
Yeah.
the newspaper you worked for all those years, was that an English language paper? Or
Yes,
it was English.
It was in English. Yeah, it used to be the Straits Times of Singapore. And, when we got separated, it became the New Straits Times.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so there's a question from Yasu. What would you say to a young person aiming to establish a career in comics today? Yeah.
Yeah. Usually when we start off, we draw about ourselves. I drew about myself when I was young. But you have the tendency to not to be fair, because you draw yourself to be a very good fellow, and then you are right. What you do is okay, and you draw yourself very good. I think that's usually what young people do. I did that when I was very young, and then realized that what people want is a story. It's a good story, something interesting, and we got to do good stories. And some of these stories you can get it from experience, your own experience, of course, whatever subject it is. Make it interesting, make it relevant, to the readers. And then some of the stories you have to dig them up. You want to do some football thing, you want to do something about your country. You have to do some research and try to get people's attention with all the little details that you could gather, and do hard work. Yeah, you can't go wrong.
Okay. Any questions from the rest? Maybe I'll ask one more. I mean, I suppose maybe more of a reflective questions, right? I mean, you're in your 70s now and you're still drawing. What will you say, cartoons and fame, all right, have done for you and your family? Yeah.
We certainly don't talk about it at home. It's something there, it's something, not here. It's, you go to the office and work, something like that, And you don't think much about it, but we are a very close-knit family. But there's no love in it, no cartoons in it. I don't know. Maybe it's the same with others, I guess. I think I'm very thankful to the people of Malaysia, and abroad who have been supporting my work, and it's just simply just simple drawing, and I try to maintain the simplicity.
Ben, maybe you got any last questions? Yeah, or yeah.
To think. No, I wish we could see. What is this new book about?
Okay, I think it's asking about Matsom too. So, okay, maybe I'll just show the cover because the images are a bit all over the place. But let me try to show the cover of it. Matsom 2. Let's see, hang on. Yeah. Yeah, I'm not quite sure what okay. Yeah, I'm not sure what you're seeing on my screen, but yeah, it's a cover of
Close up.
Matsom. Yeah, and some image. Yeah, yeah. La, you want to talk about Matsom? Yeah.
The main character, so he was very young at that time. He was in Kuala Lumpur, and basically what I went through when as a young man to work as a reporter in Kuala Lumpur in 1970, based on that, because that's what I meant just now. The cover showed him on a flyover. Actually, it's not complete. And below him is a flood, great floods of Kuala Lumpur, 1971. And what we went through at that time. And that's exactly what I meant by when you are old, certain things you cannot handle. But as a young man, in Kuala Lumpur in the great floods, he was able to swim, and he was able to help people, and he was able to spend night in the mosque, in restaurants, as shelters, and that became part of the story. And also certain part of it was what happened with that year. He went to interview a very famous Malaysian actor and filmmaker, P. Ramlee. And that also, I think, would attract the readers. Something that I went through in those years when P. Ramlee was alive. And he was going downhill at the end of his career, towards the end of his life. I met him, and I just wanted to show what he said. I presented in this book what he said about his why he did certain films and so on. So I hope this book will come out soon this year, and I am working on it, finishing touches.
Yeah. Okay, I'll just stop share and let me show you a cover of Matsom 1. All right, which I think someone should really do a North American edition of it. I mean, it's really in English, so you don't need to translate it, but maybe you just need to package it because I think this is a great book. All right, I mean, everyone knows Kampung Boy and Town Boy, but I think Matsom needs to be more well known.
Yeah. Thank you.
Okay, maybe I'll just show recently. I mean, I think what we are talking about here is also about world comics and global comics. And I suppose how comics connect us, right? Connect us. So recently, Lat also won an award in China, which he went to receive. So let me try to call up that image, and then I will share it with you. Just hang on. Okay. Just let me share screen. Portion of the screen share. Yeah. Okay. I think this is where Lat received the award. Can you see the image?
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
very big. Maybe you
Yes.
could zoom out a
Lat
little.
is very small in this photo.
Funny, it's filling the whole screen, yeah. And what the international exchange, right?
Yeah, it's a Chai Chechong comic prize. They were given by the publisher of the philosophical Chai Chechong comics from China, and I gladly received it in Guangzhou. Mr. Chai Chechong himself had known my work for a long time. I didn't know that, but I feel honored. And this was in December last year, and I spent 3 days in Guangzhou with my son because my wife was not able to travel with me at that time due to health reason. I shall remember this. I thought that was my last trip abroad, because I nowadays would rather stay home and try to do some work.
Yeah, so I think, of course, we like to travel, but sometimes it's not easy. And this is where I suppose technology helps. Zoom helps, all right, where we can still connect with other people. Yeah. Mm. Any questions from the audience? Yeah. Okay, maybe I'll ask one more question, which I mean, like any good teacher or student, I always prepare a list of questions. Kampung Boy, of course, is very famous, and I suppose in a way, everyone wants a piece of Kampung Boy. All right, I mean, it's a coming of age story, and of course, just like any other artist, musician, even Bob Dylan, you don't want to play your old songs anymore. You want to do new songs. You're a bit tired of your old characters, but I think once the work is out there, once the character is out there, it belongs to the public. So, Lat, maybe just to ask you, how do you reconcile with that? Yeah.
Yeah, they keep on being with it. And at one time I got tired. The Kampung Boy has been around so long. And then I got an offer to do animation. So we did that in Los Angeles for the Niasat, Malaysian East Asia Satellite TV, which later known as Astro, of course. I did 26 episodes. So he became popular. So and then the name Kampung Boy just was always around, and in the form of books or animated series. And so I think it's a recognition from the public, and I'm glad that I could make it. Once upon a time, the term Kampung Boy was it was misused, and it showed backwardness. When I was a kid, if you are from the kampung, from the village, you are country bumpkin, that sort of thing. But I think now a Kampung Boy is a nice term, and even the very successful corporate leaders would say, I'm still at heart a Kampung Boy at heart. So it is well received, actually. Thank you very much for that.
And looking back, okay, I mean, this is, I suppose, a reflective question. Is there anything that you do differently?
I never thought about it. Once upon a time, when I was a young man, when I go to a hotel lounge, I saw a pianist playing something, on the piano. In the hotel lounge, wherever you go throughout the world, there's a pianist. And I thought, wow, that's a swell. I like to do that. I like to take up music and learn and play, all those Brenda Lee songs. But I just couldn't complete it. I tried learning.
You were in a band, right? You are in some band, right?
Oh yeah, we were just, I was a friend, and I like to sing this and that, Johnny Cash sort of thing. In the school, I was in the school band. I always liked to play something, but I didn't really follow it. When I was 20, I enrolled in this classroom, Nanjing piano in Kuala Lumpur. The kids that were learning there were about 5, 6, 7 years old. I was 20, and I learned from a teacher called Miss Tambi. A teacher wearing sari, full sari. She's very young. She's almost the same age as me, relatively young. And when I found out chords, I quit. I told Miss Tambi, I'm going to leave class. I'm no longer. Why? Because I can now play some chords. She said, no, you got to read music. Actually, frankly, I couldn't afford to continue. I was earning, an amount that, I would be lucky to manage to send money home to my mom. So that's what happened. Learning a few chords, I thought I could play John Lennon's Imagine. It's not really very difficult. So that's what happened.
So basically, you thought that maybe you want to play music, but no lah, it's okay.
If I play music, I would still be drawing cartoons and comics.
Ben, anything else you want to add, or yeah?
No, that's it. No, that was great. Thank you for spending the morning for you, the evening with us, and we'll try to get to your museum next time we're out over there.
Cool. Yeah, anytime. Let me know.
Yeah, man. I'll help to organize it if any of you are interested.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Thank you, and thank you
Okay.
for the moderation.
Okay.
And we'll see you.
All right. Thanks, Sarah. Thanks for setting up. Yeah.
Take care, everybody.